the 2014 series for the Super Simple Outsourcing bi-weekly training and question and answer webinars. So I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year, a safe new year. I know in the East Coast of the United States, we've got in the Midwest, we've got some rather cold temperatures. I'm over on the West Coast, so I'm doing okay today. And so if you're in one of those cold spots, I hope you are warm and, and doing well and safe. So I do thank you, everybody, for joining again this year. And so we're looking forward to a good year with the Super Simple Outsourcing training webinars. Looking forward to making these have a nice, high, positive ROI, return on your investment of time. And so we want to make these valuable. I'm going to go ahead and click my screen share. I realized I have not done that yet. There we go. All right, and so everybody should be seeing kind of a title screen now with the Q&A session, and let's go ahead and get going here. All right, so just a couple of general housekeeping items. I call it the pre-flight check. Always like to check. Oh, this is actually a notice for myself to begin the recording to make sure. I messed up on that on the last version, and so that is for me. I do have the recording going this time. Audio check. We want to make sure that everyone can hear me, so if a couple of you could just let me know that I am coming through audibly for you, and that would be excellent. Just go ahead and put some responses in the chat panel. All right, Gary says yes. Glenn, thank you. Donald, Val, Gordon, excellent, excellent. Marvin, thank you, and welcome all of you. Hi, Roger. Everybody's chiming in here. Well, thank you so much, everybody. It really helps to get feedback to know that I'm not talking to thin air. Very good. I occasionally do forget a few things. It's kind of funny getting these up and running. There's so many balls in the air that could go wrong, and showing the wrong computer or whatever. Audio, is it recording? All of this good stuff. I usually am lucky to get through without a major snap or just a minor hindrance. So thanks for your patience, everybody. Replays, I put this link in the chat panel for everyone a couple of minutes ago. I wanted to make sure it was there for anybody that wanted to capture that. As I was saying, I typically hit record and everything goes well. I've had a few challenges in the past, only forgot to record once, but other times we may have a glitch in the recording or the process, the video rendering from GoToWebinar to a usable format or YouTube. But usually those recordings are posted up within the week, barring any tragedies or mishaps, and the link is right there. And you can find that. If we have support questions today that are not answered on the webinar, that usually means that it's individual in nature. If it's maybe a specific campaign question about something, that it's very, very specific and individual, we oftentimes will wait to respond to those individually, either by support at Nitro, and you can always hit us up at the email address on the screen, support@nitromarketing.com. Or if you need to get in contact, we may advise you to go directly to Endless Rise, Super Simple Outsource Partner, and get their customer service on the line or the campaign management team on the line. And that will help you navigate that issue if it's more individual in nature. And sometimes we have too many questions to get to. So if you have a burning question and we didn't happen to get to it, or we somehow missed it, you can definitely hit us up there and we will get you an answer. Okay. Let's take a look at today, some announcements and the presenters for today. My name is Matt DeSmet. I work with Nitro Marketing. I am the support manager here. And then we will have Paul on the line today, Paul Steinmetz from Endless Rise, and he will be coming on in just a little bit. They were having some network issues at the office, so he was packing up and running home. He lives very close to the office there, and I think at another high rise, and so he's going to get home and get connected on what hopefully will be a more stable internet situation. Just because it's so sensitive being online on the webinar, we really have to have a good quality signal. He said rarely do they ever have this kind of a problem, but it just so happened to line up to today. So. All right, so Paul will be joining us, and with that brings me to an announcement. I'm a little bit sad, but I'm happy for Trevor. So if you've been on the line with us last year, you were very familiar with Trevor, and it's nothing has happened, health-wise with Trevor. He needed he was, I think, a bit missing home a little bit, and so and he was also struggling with some of the night hours that they had to work because Endless Rise, as you know, matches the U.S. business hours, and so he's decided to take another career direction, and so he will be working, I believe, part-time through the month of January and transition with Endless Rise, and then he's going to be going to the next step in his career path. So unfortunately, we won't have Trevor, who is always entertaining and engaging with us, but we won't have him available in 2014 moving forward, but we will be moving forward as usual with Q&A and content, and Paul, like I mentioned, is going to step in today and chat with us. So that will be a great resource to be able to have a nice question and answer session with Paul. And if you're not familiar, Paul is the CEO of Endless Rise, and I call him the SEO guru because he's very knowledgeable about SEO. So great opportunity today to pick Paul's brain with some of those Q&A or some of those webinar questions that you have on SEO or whatever, whatever might be on your mind. Okay. So quick agenda, just got to rerun through some of the tips that we touched on late December. I know a lot of you weren't able to make it, so I'll do a quick refresh on that, and then we'll get moving along to some eDasher updates. Just a couple of quick updates. I'm hoping Paul might be able to be on the line when we're going through that, and then we are going to work through the Q&A with Paul. Okay, let's jump right into it. It's probably the last time I show this because if you've been on consistently, you've seen this more than once, and if not, hopefully this is helpful. If you haven't already noticed, in the Windows version of GoToWebinar, there's a nice function there in the top right, which is the little camera icon, and if there's a particular screen you want to take a quick screenshot of, I know oftentimes we're scribbling notes as fast as we can, and maybe the presenter is moving too quickly. Well, this is going to allow us to capture screens and that are pertinent and that we'd like to save to our desktop or a location that you determine. But it's a real quick way to take a nice quick screenshot of what's going on the presenter screen and save that for review later, maybe to touch up your notes or to capture a great concept that's just too big to write notes on at that time. So that's just a little tip there. All right, and as I did, I welcomed everybody to 2014. It's obviously we're all here, we all know it, and now what, right? So hopefully you've had some time over the break, if you had a longer extended break, to maybe look at your goals moving forward into 2014, to see what's up next for your business, and to take a look at the direction that you'd really want to take your business in this year. And so I just thought I'd throw out a question there, and you don't necessarily have to respond, but just kind of challenging everybody out there, if you'd finished your 2014 goals and planning yet, trying to get maybe a crystal clear idea of where your business is headed this year, which can be very important with at the end of the year. There's the famous statement, I think made famous by Stephen Covey, that you want to begin with the end in mind. So you want to begin in January with where you want your business to end up at in December of this year. And so if you've had a chance to do that, I congratulate you. If you have some of that done but still need to do some, I would highly encourage you to do it, and we'll check up probably on the next webinar on the 20th and just make sure everyone's moving along. I think it's a really important thing. I will raise my hand and admit I don't have all of my goals down in cement in writing, which is the key. So I'm right there with any of you who have yet to still get that down. So let's make a commitment to ourselves and process that and be ready to hit the ground running here by at least mid-January. Okay. And Barry, yeah, just to clarify your question, Trevor has decided to move on from Endless Rise, and that is strictly due to the scheduling of working through the night. I think that was the biggest thing. And also, I think he really wanted to maybe move in a direction back home to his hometown, and so I think those were the two reasons that he spoke with me about, and his number one driver for just taking a different course in his career path. And so he definitely will be missed. His energy, his enthusiasm, and his humor. But we will plan some great things in his place in 2014. So, okay. Roger, real quick question that you were talking about the screen capture I mentioned before. I thought it did capture the whole screen, so I don't know what might be going on. I think it will capture by default the entire screen instead of giving you kind of a wireframe to be able to draw around what you'd like to capture. To be honest, it's been a week or two since I've used it, and a lot has happened since then. So I'm not sure how that's actually functioning, but I think it should do the whole screen. If not, I would highly recommend checking some of the support material with GoToWebinar. I'm not an expert at it, so I don't want to make a guess at how you might fix that. And the other bullet point is I'm not sure it's made its way over to a Mac version yet. So if you're running on a Mac, you might not see that icon just yet. I have a feeling they're rolling it out. They're testing it, kind of a beta type thing before they go ahead and develop the Mac version. Okay. And Barry, I'm with you. I think Trevor will be missed, and it's too bad, but I definitely wish him, and I'm sure you wish everyone out there wishes him all the best. Okay, so cycles and seasons, that was another thing we had touched on in the last couple of sessions, and really it's just entering, where's my bullet point here? It's what we call entering the conversation in the prospect's mind. And so what's going on in most business owners' mind right now is what should be going on in our mind, what's next? What's next for my business in 2014? How can I grow? How can I, how can I get more leads? How can I get more sales? And so by talking to business owners in that realm, you'll already enter into the conversation that's going on in their mind. And I don't remember what marketer said that. I believe it was maybe Dan Kennedy or one of those famous marketers. But the more we can do that, the better our marketing efforts will have. So I just wanted to bring that concept up again as you look at the plans for marketing and promotion in the coming year. Make sure you think about what's going on in that business owner's mind at that time. And right now, it's obviously looking ahead at the new year. If it's a florist in February, it's obviously how can I get as many Valentine's Day orders as possible. If it's a different business in the spring, maybe a nursery in the spring, it's how can we get more nursery clients in for the spring surge of planting. So do some time, do some thinking about what's going on in your prospect's mind, and make sure to put your marketing in terms of what they're thinking about already. It's called it's continuity, and it makes your marketing efforts improve 2x 3x when you're able to do that. Okay. I've got to keep a watch out for Paul here. He said he would take about 20 minutes to close up shop to jump on over to his condominium and log on with us. I don't see him just yet, so let's keep going with this. Looking forward and looking back, I've shared this a couple times. This is Kevin's questions that he challenges us with in Nitro Marketing and himself in running his company. And they're great questions to ask if you haven't already asked them. What worked this year, meaning 2013, if you're asking it right now, and what didn't work in 2013. Those are, if you're struggling with what to focus on, I recommend starting there. Look back and see what happened that worked well, and cut out, add more and cut out the things that didn't work. I've mentioned a couple times, in this industry, I hear a lot in support about people that get distracted. I get distracted from the latest and greatest offer, the latest and greatest shiny object it's called out there. And so that might be on a lot of people's lists on what didn't work. And if that is, then make a strategy that you can use to lessen that impact on your business this year. Maybe it's getting an email address that's exclusively for offers and marketing newsletters that you only log in on Wednesdays and Fridays. Maybe that's a strategy. I think Kevin recommends in the beginning of one of his courses is to go see what you can unsubscribe or shift away, and just really pare down on the newsletters that you're getting, making sure you're getting the most valuable content that gives you the biggest ROI on investing your time and also doesn't lead you astray. So that's a couple of bullet points there on planning in the new year. Again, I'm moving through these pretty quick, but we did go through these, and I know a lot of you were on the call in the last couple of weeks, and so I didn't want to go over them all entirely. Okay, becoming a master at getting results. If you're brand new in the business and you're planning on the coming year and what do you want to put your focus to, this has been talked about. I saw in a couple different marketing newsletters and a couple different, quote unquote gurus, and that is becoming a master at getting results for the clients. And if you put your mindset towards achieving that and towards figuring out something that will help you really get powerful results for clients. And again, you don't have to be a master in 10 different online marketing strategies. Maybe you just start with one. I mean, you figure out Facebook ads, or you figure out landing pages for websites and combine that with AdWords, or maybe you figure out social media, and that's kind of your leading foot in the door service that you're very confident that you can get results in. You go out there and maybe you do it first for your own business and then second for a friend, maybe pro bono, or maybe at cost, and that gives you a couple of case studies and that gives you confidence, and then when you're sitting across the table with other business owners that you can deliver results, and that confidence is just going to exude as you sit there and as you present your offer to that business owner, and that confidence and that energy is electric, so to say. It's very magnetic, and they will. I think you'll see a lot of objections go away at that point, and you will see a lot more engaging questions. And when you start hearing business owners say, "So how long does it take to get those results?" Or, "How do we get started?" I mean, those are obviously all wonderful signals to have as opposed to skepticism. But it all comes from confidence, and that confidence comes from your ability and your confidence in delivering results. And so put some of that planning in mind, and maybe ask yourself, what service am I very comfortable with that I know I can get results in? And once you determine that, do it for your own business maybe, or do it for a friend. And at least do it once, because there's nothing like doing it once that will help breed confidence. If you're trying to teach, a child maybe to ride a bike without ever having ridden that bike, they might get a sense of that in your voice, right? And they may be a little shaky on the confidence thing, but if you're this old hat to you, you will be talking from a whole different perspective in teaching that child how to ride a bike. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that you can use that to incorporate, your focus, or to I hope that you can use that to hone in your focus this year on what I want to do, and don't worry about trying to be a master of all things. Endless Rise has their full array of services that you can take advantage of, and they're good at that. And so if you're in a place where you're very, very new, I would maybe pick one service to do either on your own business or a friend's business, because I just can't encourage that enough. It will take away the mystery of, is this going to work, and it will make it into a confidence building activity highly worth the investment. Okay. I'm going to take a look at some questions here, because I didn't quite want to go on to the demo of some of the new features of eDasher until Paul was maybe able to join us. And I'm not seeing him in. I'm going to scan the list here real quick. Maybe he jumped on. Okay, looks like he might still be making his way to his home for the secure internet connection and getting logged in. So let's take a look at some of the questions we have, maybe if there's ones regarding what we've been talking about. Okay. Eric, you have, it looks like, a pretty good question on SEO, so I'm going to flag that for when Paul is online with us here. There's a question do you have service businesses in India? And maybe you could clarify, are you wondering if that's where the operation or the outsourcing services are done? And if that's so, then no, all of Paul's work and his company is located in the Philippines, and there isn't any service businesses in India. Okay, Frankie, you were asking about the employees being top-notch in the field of expertise, and this might be another good one for Paul to answer, but I do recall him going over the training regime that they have to go through, and it's quite amazing. For the sales consultants to be able to be that, I believe they have to, boy, what was it? Be able to understand and quote back the concepts of all the deliverables in the SEO campaign, I think by memory. And so there's a lot of training that goes into the service sets that they do, and what everything is, what each individual component is. And so I know Paul is very, very big on training and very big on running everybody through the same training, and it's very structured and organized. So I would have to say absolutely. I know Paul puts a high emphasis on training, but we could flag that and have him comment as well when he's able to join us for the Q&A session here. Okay. Okay, Jean-Luc, I think you, let's see, what would be the best way to begin a business in the area of local business? Now, is that asking from your perspective, what's the best way to start your local marketing business? Maybe you could clarify that real quick and then I can answer, or if there's a different angle to that question, maybe what is the best way to get a client up and running? I'd be happy to discuss that. Oh, okay. The clarification on the India question. So here's the bottom line with working in countries outside of the United States, and that is, do they speak English? Yeah, the team right now, the SEO and campaign team, they're only able to do campaigns with websites that are in English, and that's just because SEO is so involved that teaching everybody how to do it in multiple languages would be a large undertaking, and I don't know if that's on Paul's planning for further down the road, but right now it is English only. So if there's a business within India that has, or any other country that has an English website and campaigns can be done on English keywords, then they are more than happy to do it. So there's no geographic limitation as far as country to country. It's strictly a language limitation. So hopefully that helps to clarify that. Okay. Okay, Jean-Luc, I think you are speaking of your own business. So what's the best way to get your own local marketing business up off the ground? And boy, that is a big question. That's a very full question. Let me see if I've got a couple of inputs. I would say, well, here's what Kevin recommends. This is what comes to mind immediately. Now that I think about that question, Kevin recommends that you go out and you get the first client as soon as possible, as soon as you possibly can. And whether that be a client that is at cost or, whether you cover some of the cost, maybe it's for a charity or a friend or a local business or a family member, but he says get the first client and get into action and begin moving, because nothing will train you better than walking through the process yourself and having to go into the dashboard and having to order the services, having to do the keyword research and ask the questions that will come up that you can't possibly foresee until you have a client up and running. And having to work through, that full process will give you so much energy and confidence and ultimately experience in running the business. And it will force you into finding out answers that will then open up more training to you. It just makes everything real when you go out and get that first client. So if you don't already have a client in your local marketing business, I would write a big old in red goal for January: get my first client. Whether it's high paying or no paying, just get that client, and make that your goal. Make that your number one goal. I'm going to go out and get a client for SEO, or I'm going to go out and get a client for social media because I'm most comfortable with that. And then write down, I'm going to talk to 10 business owners by the time, the next SSO webinar comes up in 2 weeks, and then start figuring out how you can get to those 10 business owners. That's the way I would start your business out. I would put an aim on getting one, just get one, because what happens when you can get one, and maybe even if it's a at cost client, but it once you got one, you can get two, right? And the other offshoot of that is go ahead and get results for that client, and see what happens. See how some referrals come. See how you can talk to that business about who do they know that also needs local marketing that's not some kind of a competitor, that you can work with. And so don't look at a client that you don't not getting any revenue from. Don't look at that as a loss or a wash. Look at it as an investment. And it's an investment in a referral source. It's an investment in your confidence, and ultimately, it's a huge investment in your business overall. It's just going to benefit you. I don't think you can be harmed by getting a client, even at no cost, or even if you take a little bit of a hit, and it's a little bit of a business expense, to you, and maybe you go half and half with the wholesale price just to take all risk away from your first client there. It'll be better, I believe, than buying the next latest and greatest, hot training out there, because you will get real street level training with that, even if it costs you some money. So hopefully that is some good direction, at least in getting going. Outside of that, I would encourage you, don't get overwhelmed. Take a deep breath, move through the trainings, commit to whatever hours in a day you can put to learning your business and moving your business forward. The other thing I would say is don't stop marketing. I know that what happens a lot of times is if we get a client or two, we stop marketing and the funnel starts to dry up, but if you can, even 30 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, or commit to reaching out to one new prospect a day, or if it's too much, then go for a week, or try X number of prospects in a week. But commit to doing something, and that's another bit of advice I saw in a group or something. Commit to doing something daily, and to fill that pipeline with leads. But don't get overwhelmed. That can happen a lot in this business, especially if you're very, very new to internet marketing. But just take it easy, go at a pace that's manageable, because there's a lot of reward. I can say from working with people and clients, there's a lot of reward for those who are willing to just kind of put your head down and to dive into this and to trudge along and to fight through any downtimes, or to fight through any challenges. This is a very real business model. This is not some flash in the pan. It's a very real business model, and you can get clients, and you can have a very solid business if you want to put that work in and do it. So that's what I would encourage you in starting out the business. Okay. Just going to take a moment here to see if Paul's had a chance to jump on with us. Hopefully something else didn't pop up. You can imagine being the CEO of a company with somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 employees. Things can happen. So hopefully Paul will be able to join us shortly. Who knows if he got 6 people on the way out the door. Oh, Paul, this fire. But something may have happened. I don't see him just yet, so we'll continue to hope he can join on with us. Okay, there's a question. What's the best approach to selling web development to a business with a website, but that website needs to be mobile optimized? Is there a package for situations like these? Well, Endless Rise certainly offers you full web design services, and they can do that mobile optimized site, and it's by the number of pages is the charge, I believe. And so you have the fulfillment side covered, but what's the best way to approach that business? I have heard of great success if you use on the dashboard, and I'd like to pull it up, but I'm on the screen, and there's a new walkthrough process on when you first log in. I don't think I can go get around that, but it's marketinghelper.net. And that will show you what's called a an what's it called? An emulator, and so you could plug in a site and see how that site's going to show up. And so what I would do, or if you have a mobile phone and you can take screenshots, whatever the most efficient way you can find in your working to do it, but showing a business owner what their site looks like on a mobile phone is incredibly powerful. I mean, as soon as they see, and what about having that on the same piece of, maybe the same PDF side by side with their closest competitor who is mobile optimized. I have heard great results of people sending out, an actual representation of, Mr. Dentist. I don't know why dentists always get picked on, but they seem to be a common niche that we use. Mr. Dentist, take a look at your website, as it shows up on a mobile phone, and it's just terrible. You can only see like the top left corner of their website, and maybe there's a patient that's pictured on the website. You only see half their face, and it's just terrible looking. And then take a picture of their competitor who is mobile optimized, who they're going to recognize, and who they probably are. They have something when they hear that name, because they're the closest competitor, and take a look at their website. Oh my, and there's just something about when a business owner sees their image and it sees how it's being portrayed out there, and especially if in the same breath they're seeing what their competitor, who looks great and polished is. I would be surprised if you didn't get some responses back from people using that. I don't know that I know I've heard people sending out, a picture of the site, what it looks like, but I don't know if I can't say I've heard of people sending out the closest competitor. I think it could only be even a little bit more impactful, kind of the turning of the knife, as they would say in the marketing world, kind of increasing the pain for that business owner. And it's not that you're trying to create pain. It's that you as a marketer understand the importance of having a mobile optimized website, and you're really doing them a service, I think, by recommending that they move to a mobile optimized site. And so if they want to do a whole new optimized site, Endless Fries would be great for that. There's other services out there that allow for building a mobile version of a website, and that you could check in. I think I would recommend just starting at scratch. I would highly recommend talking with the clients about redoing that website in a fully mobile responsive version, as opposed to having the two different mobile sites. But that's my input about approaching businesses for mobile optimized sites. Tabitha, you have a pricing question about you haven't used Super Simple Outsourcing and how can you access the prices. If you have a dashboard account, the best way to do it is log in to that and then go to the services menu, and you will see the full set of prices that way. If you do not have a dashboard account, take a look at the chat panel and the links that I provided a little bit ago. It will have, there's a chat in there that says, or there's a post in there that says to get the SSO dashboard, and then the hyperlink is there. And so you'll want to go get that get the dashboard all set up for yourself, get a reseller application submitted, and then you'll be able to log in and see all the pricing. And all the pricing is live right in the dashboard. If there's any change or whatnot, I don't think things change very often at all, but if there is a change, that's where you will find it. Okay. Another great question from Jean-Luc. It says, thanks for the answer. What would be the best, simple, and easiest thing to do for the customer? And oh boy, is there a $1 million question there. But a good, a good one. And I encourage everybody to think about maybe a service to specialize in. And so I guess we could have kind of an informal chat right now about what that might be. If anybody is out there and you have a recommendation for a service, I'd be happy to share with the group if you want to submit that. And if not, I can give a couple of thoughts. A great idea for a quick and easy service that you can do would be anything that you can deliver quickly, so within the first month. And so SEO sometimes takes a little while to get results. And so there are a lot of people that will do a small PPC campaign for the client because you have much more control over that. It's something you can deliver within that month. There should be no problem delivering it. You can get them, with a PPC campaign ranking at the top of Google because you have control over it. As long as they're willing to spend enough per click, I mean, they can be up there at the top. And so it's a very deliverable service within or within a month, within that 30-day time frame. And so PPC is a good one if they're open to it. Another one would be something along the lines of maybe setting up their Google Plus Local site if they don't have one, or optimizing their local listing. And so getting them set up, because that should be something that can be pretty well executed within that first month. Especially if it's something, setting up their Google Plus local page, and just getting that page established, or maybe a Facebook page, because that's all a defined, very specific deliverable item that you can do. And I'm not sure the time frame on. It's been a little while since I checked, so forgive me, but if you're going to have Endless Rise do it, which I recommend, just outsource it, right, and then it gets done, up to the best standards and the best practices. But I'm going to say that that's probably something that can be delivered within that first month, and then at the start of the month, you say, I'm going to deliver a Facebook page to you and a Google Plus local page, and we're going to start your social media campaign. At the end of that month, I'm certain that you can talk to the client and you can say, see, we were going to do this, and here's your Google Plus page, and here is your Facebook page. And the client can go, wow, awesome. We had a promise at the start of the month. We had delivery at the end of the month. Well, what else can we do? And so that's what I mean by an easy, simple service that you can deliver right away. It's something that you can get back to them, as soon as possible. A video is another something that you can deliver to them, within that month. And so maybe you offer to make them a YouTube channel and a video, and that's something that can be delivered within that month, or it should be. And so things like that, very specific and defined deliverables, what I would recommend. Okay, Mike, good point. I should have put that URL in the chat panel here. So, and then the URL I'm speaking of is where you can look at the emulator for the iPhone. So it is www.marketinghelper.net. So let me post this. And real quickly on Marketing Helper, well, let's just see if I can jump over to something here. Okay, I'm going to pull it up here because they moved the location of it recently. Let's see. You're going to scroll down, and here it is, Responsive Device Tester. So if I click on this, and well, that's odd, WordPress.com. Let's try, what was the one they did before? BostonGlobe.com. And I submit this. Hopefully it's working. There it is. So Boston Globe. Yeah, I believe, okay, so that one was mobile responsive. See how in the different versions, the different sizes, it comes through okay. Maybe it was the new, if I could type today, NewYorkTimes.com. It was one of these major news sites where it wasn't really mobile optimized. It's quite surprising to me. But this is how you could type in, go out there and find a client. Yeah, here we go. See, this is somewhat surprising to me. The New York Times does not appear to be mobile optimized. So let's scroll over here to maybe look at the larger size phones. And look at this. I mean, obviously we're not going to try and land the New York Times as a client, but their site is not mobile optimized. And so what if we had a dentist site who, again, only half their site shows up and it doesn't change, but, in a screenshot over here on the right-hand side, and you can't do it in the same screenshot like this. You'd have to take two screenshots and put them on maybe a PDF or a Word doc or something. And then you had their closest competitor who is mobile optimized, and they could visibly see the difference and visibly see, if I could put the Boston Globe over here and open up the homepage, I can say, look, the user experience here is so much more different, and it's much better with the mobile optimized site, especially if the site looks really bad, inside of a phone or a tablet. Then you have all the more, leverage against that client to say, let's talk, let's get this done for you, And a website, depending on how quickly you can get content from the client, that might be something you could deliver inside of 30 days too. So that might be a door in the foot or foot in the door service that you could provide. But I don't know. A lot of times those site designs can drag on just a little bit, and it's not from the SSO side or Endless Rise, it's from the client side. And they just aren't getting you the content. However, if you've got a client that already has a lot of content on the site, I think that makes it a lot easier because they can, just go ahead and use a lot of that content and shift it over to a new, fresh design. So let me take a look here also at Marketing Helper, and just if you're brand new, this is the new redesigned version, and this is completely white label. So if you had a client that asked you after the webinar today, I want to get a new website. Do you do websites? Absolutely. Can you send me a portfolio? Absolutely. Here's what we can get done for you. And you can send them this URL here, marketinghelper.net. They can come here and they can look this over. Anything they see on here, and you can explain. We usually build stuff off of more of a template base, or a basic look and feel that you pick, and then we customize to you a little bit with your content, and that helps keep our costs down. I believe they can do full custom. Well, I should know that, but I don't want to definitively say right now. But if they wanted a full custom, but again, price is going to go up on that. It's much more preferred to do it based on a template, and there's so many templates. It just makes perfect sense rather than doing a full custom. It's like a custom home versus one that's built off of already plans that are pretty standard. And so that's the power of this Marketing Helper. And your client, if it came to Marketing Helper and they came, they're not going to see any mention of any company. It's going to look, down here it's all white labeled. So here's all the even what's the term for that? But they're showing all that they can program in and everything. So social signals down there, and again, this is really, really cool. It's something provided to you by Endless Rise to help you land website gigs. So there's marketinghelper.net. Okay. Jean-Luc, I think I got your answer or your question answered there about the mobile site URL. Okay. Fran, do you have an opinion on a website that has a managed hosting versus self-hosting? Ooh, great question. I think managed hosting is there's some nice benefit to that, in that it's kind of like what we're doing with outsourcing and recommending outsourcing SEO and all of that to Endless Rise, in that the party that is managing that hosting should be up to speed on all the best practices for a website, whether it be making a backup for the site, whether it be updating and making sure there's any, I don't know, virus protection or whatever goes on in the behind the scenes to managing and hosting a website. It should be provided by a hosting or a managed hosting provider. Now, along with that, obviously comes increased cost. But there's a little bit of peace of mind for a business. And so, Fran, I'm not sure if you're asking about it from your perspective or your client's perspective, but if you want peace of mind, I think a managed hosting solution is a great idea. From what I understand, that's what they provide. That's the benefit of them. Versus relying upon yourself to go in and do the backups and to do any updates to WordPress or whatever that you need to do to keep things running smoothly. Somebody else is going to take care of it for you, and that somebody else should be trained in all of the best practices for website hosting. So I hope that helps. I hope that's helpful. Barry says, do you do reputation marketing? And reputation management is a service. So I'm not sure if you're pouring the same meaning into that, Barry, reputation management versus marketing, but absolutely, there is online reputation management services available from Endless Rise. And, oops, sorry, I got distracted because I saw Paul's name in the chat here. But it is definitely available through Endless Rise, and so it is definitely outsourceable. Okay. All right, I saw Paul come in, but then, it says has left. So let me check the GoToWebinar roster real quick here and see if Paul is in. I just wonder if it's I wonder if they're having maybe a storm there. He didn't say in the Philippines, and it so rarely happens in, I think it's Makati City where they are, because they're right in the heart of the business district, and they usually have a solid connection in the internet there, but it looks like there might be a challenge because Paul was in the chat, and then it says he left, and that was within the last 2 minutes. So, oh, such a bummer. He must be trying to log in here. Okay. All right, we'll keep rolling with questions, and hopefully Paul can jump on here. Frankie, that's a great question. Is it possible to see a real-time look or kind of an over-the-shoulder view of how successful resellers walk the potential clients through the sales and closing process? You know, we did some role play webinars about 8 months ago with Paul and I, or maybe it was even further back, and maybe we need to look at redoing that or pulling up the copies for everyone so you can kind of see. I mean, that was somewhat of an over-the-shoulder view in that I played the part of a pizza shop owner and Paul played the part of the consultant. He walked, you know, he was trying to basically sell me on some SEO, and so it was a role play essentially. And so let me pull up the role play. I'm just going to make kind of a note here for myself. See if I can find those recordings, and by the next one, the 20th, I'll see if I can't find those and publish those for everybody, and then maybe Paul and I can chat about, you know, refreshing that recording or doing it again, and kind of, you know, trying to match that over the shoulders type approach. Okay. There's a question about what is required to set up Google Plus Local and how to get more Facebook likes for a client. I'm going to recommend, and I'm going to recommend, it looks like Lourdes LLC, not sure the first name, but go ahead and take a look in the dashboard for Endless Rise, and there should be in the proposal request there a list of things. I literally think it's their Google login and some information about the client so they can appropriately fill it in, but I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. And then I do believe they have some Facebook campaigns that you could also launch. But if a client has a Facebook campaign, I think Facebook makes it really easy for you to, you know, promote a page as well with some kind of advertising. I think they obviously want to encourage that. So if you have a Facebook page for a business and that's what they want to do, it's, I think, a matter of getting a Facebook campaign going. But again, social media is something that you can outsource as well through Endless Rise. Barry says, is there any way I can put that Endless Rise, or I mean the marketing helper on my website? What you could do would be a link and, you know, see our portfolio or see what we can do for you in web design, and it would be a link to Marketing Helper. Outside of that, it's going to get a little bit more technically complicated. I think you would have to do something like an iframe where within your website you're showing another page of a website. I'm not a technical person, and so I understand a little bit from a high level, so I could be wrong on that, but I think that's called an iframe, and I believe you can do that. Or if you have the dashboard service, you could mask it, and there's another way. Oh, a subdomain, I think, is something that can be done, but I will not try and guide you, because I would just be taking guesses right now on how to get that done. I do know if you go to the dashboard and you search, what would be the most appropriate? oh, what's it called? Search, maybe marketing helper. Oh, the word is escaping me right now, what it's called. Um, the technical term for it. But I think you're going to run into it. You're going to run into how to, oh, the term that's really bugging me, but there's a term, and you can get a video, a training video on how to, it's not white labeling, but it's basically putting your branding on the dashboard, and so people, it looks like it's on your site, but it's actually posting the dashboard. And so I bet you could do a subdomain for marketinghelper.net, and that's how you would get domain masking. That's the term for it, I believe. So if you look up domain masking inside your dashboard in the documents library, you will find a good tutorial on how to do that. All right, there it is, Barry. Yep, you nail it, domain masking. So I believe that's the best way to get that marketing helper on your individual sites. More visual for the client. A lot of times, if you go into try and enter a conversation with, let's build a website, they may not have any clue what they want it to look like. Another way to do it is if you have some competitors, Mr. Business, that you would like, or you like the look of their site, and maybe you can take those and then you kind of do the legwork and go into Marketing Helper here and take a look around at the templates and try and find a couple of options for them, and to match what look and feel that they like. That's another way to get that done. Okay. All right, Kathy's follow-up, I think, comment on the managed hosting. She says, not to mention being available 24/7 to fix things when a server goes down. Absolutely. It's much better to have somebody else in the hot seat when that happens as opposed to yourself as a client, trying to do that. If you don't, and that's really a business decision. If you decide to offer websites, whether you want to actually do the hosting of that, or you just want to play the part of designer and, project manager for that and have the client be responsible for the site. It's a great recommendation. If you're either way you're going to go, but it's a great recommendation to the client to do managed hosting. I don't think hosting. It's a business model to make something by marking up hosting, but there's a lot that can go on with that. And when a client site goes down, they freak out. I think, as you can imagine, that's their window to the world, so to say. And so you want somebody that's an expert. If you decide to go it yourself and you're maybe a bit more, you're not as knowledgeable about hosting websites, what I would do is have someone at the ready that you can contact, and maybe it's just somebody that you found and you tested on Fiverr.com, and they're a very cheap provider. Maybe it's somebody on Odesk that you know and you can hit up real quick to get some knowledgeable advice on how to fix something. And again, that's if you are positioning yourself as a hosting provider to your client. And then you need to be able to answer the question. If you're just a designer and your project manager, the client needs to understand that if something goes wrong, after the project, that's technically you're not really on the hook for that. So, of course, most people are going to try and help the best they can, but making a nice, clear expectation is a great thing to do. Okay. Let's see. Ruth says, what's the best way to do SEO for realtors who are part of a franchise? Should I build a custom site for them? because I would not be able to get access to their corporate. Please clarify. And I think you're onto something there. I think, Ruth, the best way is we know that realtors, they really like to have their name out there. That's why oftentimes, they have a big picture on their business card and maybe a website, really big picture, and they want, because they want it to be like a person-to-person business, right? Not just we're going to sell your house like a machine, but so they want their name out there, and so building them, kind of building their brand as an individual, I think is the way I would position that. And you would talk to them along the lines of, let's get you a site, let's build you as a brand, as a realtor, assuming they're not going to break any terms of service with their own franchise. I guess that would be a consideration as well. The realtor market's interesting. I've heard different reviews on it. I've heard it can be tricky to work with realtors. I've also know that they're very easy to get a hold of because their contact information is everywhere. And so they want phone calls, from their clients, I will say, of course, but, if you have a powerful offer for them, they might be willing to take a look at that. But they are easy to get a hold of because, again, their contact information is everywhere. So hope that helps. All right. Frankie says, will I be able to hire a virtual assistant and get them trained in other areas of expertise other than what Endless Rise has to offer? Absolutely. That is something that you can do, that we have members do that at the right stage in their business. And usually what that means is if you have a couple of processes that you have well defined, they're down, you've got them documented, you could train somebody just to do those, that's a great time to look for a virtual assistant to help you out with. There's multiple things that they can do, whether it's the client onboarding process or filling out proposals or doing market research or collecting leads for you. But it's a great way to go, and it's usually kind of a phase 2 activity, I think, because you need a little bit of startup capital to pay that salary. But there are services out there that can get that done for, I think as little as 10 hours a week. And so that should be hopefully somewhat inexpensive for you if you wanted to do that, but absolutely, Frankie. Okay, Barry, you were clarifying if reputation management was under reputation management in the E-Dasher, and yeah, I think it's ORM. Online reputation management is like the acronym for the tab that it's under. Once you click on that, you should see some services in there under that tab, ORM. Okay, let's see. The question about, do you have a one-page contract that one can use? If you have a membership to LBMM, or the Local Business Money Machine, there is a one-page contract in there. If you want something a little more robust, there is a contract example. I think it's upwards of 14 to 18 pages because Paul is very big on being covered. So he provided that for everybody in the eDasher Endless Rise account. And so you've got a couple different ways to go there. You can do more of a basic contract, smaller agreement, so to say, or you can do a full-blown contract. A lot of times it's your relationship with the business owner that might dictate that. I know Paul, he feels very strongly about being covered on paper, so to say. And so he provided a pretty good but very full document. And again, that's in the dashboard for eDasher if you log in, and I think you just would search for contract and you're going to get that result right away. Val, I must be honest with you. Your question here, how can you tell if the Google Places have been claimed? I am not a Google Places expert. I believe it's right there on the front, though. Things change so quickly. I'll tell you what I saw, I think about 6 months ago when I checked, is when I went on one of them, and I just haven't gone to one looking for this specifically, but I believe it says claim this, or are you the owner? And it was kind of prompting to claim it. So I am going to guess it's still the same. And but again, that's just a guess. I apologize. I don't know for absolute on that. Okay, a question about if there's a white label kind of website like Marketing Helper showing all of the services. And we don't have that, although that's an interesting idea. I wonder how I think the trick there, John Luke, would be pulling that off with contact information that was relevant for you as a business. So if you were to send it, if you were to send a client there to say, hey, look at all of this, you would want your contact information probably on that so they could get back to you. Although you could, of course, follow up and say, hey, did you get a chance to look at that? So let me just write it down. I don't know what can be done, but Paul oftentimes is open to ideas, or Paul and Kevin. So um, let me just write it down. Okay, Roy, another one lost audio, but I don't see. Oh, there, Eric, you're back. So it looks like just audio is dropping for individuals here and there. So Roy, I hope you're back with us. Looks like you asked that question a little bit ago. I'm a little behind on questions. Got a lot of good ones coming in today. Let's see. Oh, okay. That's right. I had a thought on that, and that white labeled um, kind of client-facing website that we were talking about a moment ago. And there is sales collateral inside the marketing eDasher. So I'm going to click over here to our splash page. This is what Paul wanted to go through, is if you haven't logged in, or when you do log in, they're going to walk you through kind of a 10-page and I don't want to click off of that because I know we wanted to go through it, and I don't know if it comes back if if we click through it. But when you come into the dashboard here, you will see I wish I could show it over here. Oh, it looks like it's just an empty page behind, but there's going to be a document library, and if you go in there and if you type in marketing collateral, or you'll be able to find it, but there is some PDFs in there that go over SEO, all about SEO, all about online reputation management, and those are totally white label. They don't have anybody's name on it or anything. You can take those and you can email those to a client, and you can say, Mr. Business Owner, I know you were interested in SEO and social media. Here's some PDFs on what we can provide you and what is delivered to you when you hire our company. And they're very, very nice. They're very well done. So that's a way to do it without a website, but still have a professional marketing piece that you can send to people, to prospects. So that's how I would do it if you don't have the website. Okay, let's see here. Had a couple of comments again about audio. Looks like I might have lost it for a couple of minutes, or a couple of people did. I don't see a massive, usually when that happens, like there's all of a sudden 30 comments jump in when it goes down across the board. All right, Kathy says, I sell hosting to my clients, but I don't manage the servers. And so there's some experience, folks. Kathy's saying that she sells websites, but whether it's a business decision she made based on a bad experience, or just something that she picked up, or just a decision she made, but she doesn't do the manage of the hosting or the servers. And again, it's your business decision, but I don't know that you make enough per month. It's nice because it's monthly, right? But it's just an added responsibility. And Kathy, I don't know if maybe you made that based on a bad experience, but that's Kathy's perspective, and that's from what she's doing right now in the field. So thank you for submitting that feedback. All right, Frankie says, is it possible to speak to a client who already has a mobile site that has been done poorly? I'll say this, anything's possible. I think the challenge you might come up against is if they just paid somebody $1,000 to do that, and you're trying to talk to them about spending some more money. So I would say absolutely, I don't want to shy you away from, especially if you really think you got an angle with that client. But there are so many fish in the sea, you may want to move on to the next fish. So hopefully that helps, Frankie. All right, Eric has a comment about HostGator and saying that he uses HostGator and their help system is very effective. I will also say for HostGator, I have seen a couple of complaints since they were acquired by another company. I don't know how long ago, but Eric is obviously using them right here and right now, and so it sounds like that you haven't had troubles with that, Eric. So I've heard both things on HostGator. Let's see. What would you suggest as an excellent hosting and managed hosting? Oh, Paul had a comment on that a while ago. He knew somebody. I'll flag that one if Paul comes, is able to make it on with us today. If not, I would just do a Google search on managed hosting and take a look around and find a solution that's affordable. I think there's a range of prices out there. Okay. Jamie asks, what is the best source to hire sales reps? Boy, another great question. I have heard of good results using Craigslist, surprisingly. The thing that you want to do when you're trying Craigslist is you want to have somewhat of a buffer between you and all the leads that you might get. So what I mean by that is we had a training from somebody, an individual, a while back, and they actually put their new hires through a bit of a test, and they asked them in the post to actually send a letter, and in the letter do certain things, fold it 3 times on yellow paper, and handwrite the envelope, and what they're doing is they're weeding out people who aren't able to follow directions, or who don't, I don't know, but they just have had nothing but success doing that process, because they don't get just 1,000 leads from Craigslist that just say, yeah, I'm looking for a job. They get very specific candidates who've gone through a few hoops and who have demonstrated that they have the ability to follow directions. And so the basic strategy is that I think it's just they write out, send me your resume on such and such, and send me 3 resumes. Send me 3 references on pink paper. I'm making it up a little bit, but on a handwritten envelope, and here's the address. And I guess that exposes your address a little bit if you just have a home address, but you can do a P.O. box or something. Or maybe even send an email to this Gmail account answering these 7 questions, specifically. And it just, put them through some hoops. And that helps to weed out some people that aren't even willing to, follow directions up front. Okay. Let's see, Jamie asks, what is a reasonable pay rate or percentage of sales we should pay the sales reps? So that breaks down typically into a percentage basis, especially when you're starting out. That's a great way to go. That way you're not trying to cover a salary up front. And if that's the base, or if that's how you set it up, you do need to provide a little bit higher percentage, because again, it has to be mutually rewarding, for the person. I've heard anywhere from 10% to 25% of the sale, and then you can make a business decision whether that's going to be ongoing or not, or you may go with an approach where it's 25% of the initial sale and 10 or 15% of ongoing revenue for the client. A real popular method is to do that ongoing revenue, but also put in the contract with the sales rep that they're responsible for following up with the client. So if you want to go totally hands-off and totally client free, I say, meaning you're not talking directly to clients, if you had a little force of sales reps out there that agreed to that, and they're following up with clients, and they're playing the middleman, and they're managing that relationship, I think it's worth the 15 or 20%, really. They take care of all of it, and you just make sure that things are moving along, and you're project managing and you're marketing. It's a great setup, great business model, but just make it fair. Bottom line is you got to make it fair for both parties. You've got to cover a lot of business costs. They also have to earn a living, your sales reps. So 10 to 25%, I think, is, I would say, an average range that I have heard. Okay. Okay, Mark has a tip here. If the Google Places page looks bad, contact the business owner. And absolutely, that's kind of the benefit of doing the website, or the offering some design services, is you can go out there to the marketplace and you can see who's kind of failing, who's falling behind miserably, and it's not too hard to point, or not too hard to see, right? And then you can approach them. And here's the nice thing about this is when you're marketing, and you can make your marketing very specific to your target prospect. And when I say specific, I mean they're looking at their own marketing, and they're seeing the results in front of them, and you're trying to forcing the issue. Look, I'll say Miss Business Owner. I keep saying Mr. I'm not trying to play sexist here. Look, Miss Business Owner, your page here, just doesn't have the pizzazz that your nearest competitor does. Let's talk. I've got 3 ideas, to upgrade your page. And so there again is a very specific and definable thing you can do in an offer. And the more specific, the more defined your offer for your clients is, the better. And so if you put their marketing in front of them and you say, I have 3 very specific things you can do to increase your effectiveness, I'd love to talk to you about it. Leave it like that. And that business owner, that's a nice hook, for them to come back to you and ask questions, and just to talk to you about what you're thinking. Okay. So I think that's a good strategy. Mark, you point out, just look for the business owner pages that look terrible. And sadly, a lot of business owners out there don't pay attention to their online marketing, so I don't think they're that hard to find. So Google search away. Okay. Eric has it looks like a tip from the field, I'll call it. So he says, I have been working with a company of developers who have 2 apartment complexes, and we are competing in SEO with the main real estate companies locally. The main difficulty we have is that we don't have the full range of real estate products locally. What would be the main way around that? Okay, so there's a little bit of inside knowledge on real estate, on the real estate market, and what would be the main way around that? Oh boy. Heck of a question there, Eric. Good one, though. My mind goes to PPC immediately, because now I'll say that, but those other businesses might have a nice substantial budget, but with PPC you really can buy your way to the top. And if the ROI works out, I don't know what the client value is for your client there, but if it's several $1,000s a year, they can probably afford even several dollars a click, as long as their closing ratio is good. If a new client is worth $2,000 to somebody, and they have a closing ratio of 20%, well, you can deliver them, let's say 10 clicks, even at the cost of $200 or $20 a click. That's $200 for the clicks. If they can close a couple of those clients, they're going to have positive ROI. And so a lot of times it's drilling down to what their client value is, and then showing that client or showing that prospect that they're going to get a positive ROI. And so, and I'll just say real quickly, stepping back from the real estate example, just looking at ROI, when you're talking to a business owner, if you can boil it down to them, if you only boil it down to a couple of things, and it's oftentimes nice to simplify your presentations, but if you boil it down to a positive ROI and they can see it and they believe it, the next question is, when do we start and how much, right? And so, because the business owner, as long as they're a smart business owner, if they really can see that I will spend $10 today and I will get $50 at the end of the week, they should jump on that. So a lot of times it is boiling down your conversation to, let's look at the ROI that we can get for you, business owner. So I think PPC, Eric, in that case, just because if you can't compete at the SEO level, you can buy your way into it with a PPC campaign. Facebook too, maybe, although I don't know how you're going to target prospects for your company that way. But Facebook is starting to increase in the marketing world as far as people looking at that as a viable option for advertising. So, okay. I think Eric has a follow-up here. We got from nowhere to page 3 of Google, and you're now stuck at that level. So that's at least you did get some forward progress, but like everybody would know, you want to get to that first page because that's just the sweet spot. So, well, that's a tough one, Eric. Oftentimes setting the expectation with a client is so key with this, so critical. They need to understand that SEO oftentimes is a long-term campaign. It's something they're going to have a long-term mindset, but the ROI, when you finally get there, that's what you got to talk to, right? When you finally own that top spot and you are getting, 60% of the clicks, or whatever the current percentage is these days, it's just going to pay off for itself. So hopefully you'll keep gaining ground, Eric, but maybe also some of those techniques are going to be, maybe they'll resonate with your client and they'll want to try those. Okay. Well, I'm really bummed we couldn't get Paul back online today, but I know that every once in a while they just have something. I'm going to check an email real quick here to see if Paul maybe emailed me. I don't see. Yeah, he must just be having some real internet challenges. So we may not be able to have Paul on today. Well, I certainly apologize. I'll try and talk to this screen that we're looking at here, the pop-up, and maybe we're just going to flip through it. I was hoping he could jump on and walk us through it, but we'll go for a couple more minutes here. I do have some questions, and then, wow, look at that. It's already 16 past, so officially we've got just 15 minutes left for our scheduled webinar time. We can always go over a little bit, but I know everybody has got things they got to do today as well. Okay. What's the white label again site? Or Ruth, you're saying, let me see, make sure that's in the chat panel, marketinghelper.net. Let me pull that up real quick on screen here so you can see the URL. There it is. Top left will be the URL for you. Okay, Pamela, you have a great pricing question. How much markup would you suggest? So here's the bottom line. You want to try and make at least double the wholesale cost on your marketing or on your pricing with Endless Rise. So, if you got an SEO package and it's $300 a month, you want to go for $600 a month, billing to the client. A lot of times this is going to depend, though, and this is what I would encourage you and a lot of people would encourage you to do, is to price your services based on the value to the client. And so what I mean by that is if you're talking to a florist today and an attorney tomorrow, the pricing that you offer them is going to be, hopefully a lot different. And the reason is your florist client per person is going to get a lot less benefit out of the marketing campaign than the efforts, because, the average sale is going to be what, $40 or $50. Whereas that attorney client is going to be, what, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 per client. So, your services are a lot more valuable to them. There's also a lot more competition to deal with. So what you'll find is as the client value goes up in the marketplace, like attorneys, doctors, and dentists, so also is the competition, and it's just natural. The more valuable, the more people are going to be in the game, and so I would base your markup based on at least 2 times, but don't be afraid to go up 3 times, 4 times, 5 times if the value is there for your client. You're providing a valuable service to them, and so don't be afraid, to charge what it's worth to them, and not so much where they're just going to walk away, but that's a bit of an art when it comes to pricing. There is a pricing webinar in the dashboard for Endless Rise, and we had one too on SSO, but I think the one they did was a little bit longer and probably more, they usually go a little bit longer than ours, and so I would look in the dashboard for the pricing webinar, and it's just in the webinar history. And so you'll be able to get a nice idea on all things pricing by viewing that webinar. Okay, Kathy, who does the managed hosting, has posted a recommendation for anybody who's curious about managed hosting. Let me see if I can type it into the chat panel here. So it looks like Lunar Pages or Rackspace. I've definitely heard the name Rackspace in the past. Lunar Pages would be new to me. So I've just posted those 2 brand names in the chat panel. I think a quick Google search would get you to those providers if you are interested in a recommendation from one of our members. So thank you, Kathy. Okay, Darwin, you had a comment that says set up a JV. I'm just not entirely sure what that was in reference to, but um, that might be in how to get clients quickly, setting up a JV, absolutely. If you go out and find somebody who services local businesses and you say, hey, if you send me clients, I will give you 10% of all the pricing, or maybe that was in response to our discussion about sales reps too. Absolutely, any kind of a joint venture where you both benefit from new business, it's almost a no-brainer for the other party, especially if you're willing to take on all the risk and do all the work and just say, I'll just deliver you more money, when people respond. All right. Oh, Eric says, chiming in that you've done successful PPC and Facebook campaigns. So, okay, well, very good. It's good to know that you have tested those, and it says you've got some sales on that too. So that's great. It's always good to know what's working out there. So thank you for sharing. Okay, Ellen has another recommendation for Lunar Pages. Thank you very much. And Kathy does a follow-up. Rackspace is a bit more expensive, but their service is the best in my opinion. I have heard that Rackspace, sometimes we shy away from direct recommendations here just because I don't have experience, so take it with a grain of salt. But from what I've heard, yeah, Rackspace is a name that I've always heard. I guess I shouldn't go so far as to say they're the BMW of hosting or something, but I've just heard it thrown around that it's quite a quality service. So I think it sounds like either one of those is going to work out great if you're interested in the managed hosting. And so follow-up question to JV, is there a JV contract available? No, I don't. I'm not aware of one that we have available. Sorry about that. Okay, let's take a look because I think I've covered quite a few of the questions here. Let's take a look at this page, the splash page in the dashboard. We're just going to walk through it here. So if you're brand new, or if it's the first time that you've logged in a long time, I think you're going to get this pop-up. And all it is it looks like it's going to walk you through, and it's kind of a is probably almost like a onboarding process for the dashboard, and it's going to walk you through some best practices. What's the dashboard and where do you get stuff done, and how do you stay connected with us. And so I don't apologize, we don't have Paul's input. Checking real quick one more time if he's been able to just jump on at the last minute. I'm not seeing Paul there, bummer. So take my comments with a grain of salt, but it looks like what it's going to do is kind of walk you through the process and get you set up with all of everything basically to make things a success. And I have a feeling they took the most frequently asked questions from new folks to the dashboard and put in this kind of a walkthrough, which is really an interesting concept. And because it helps with the onboarding process, without anybody having to do it, live and in person. So, yeah, see, it's going to walk you through how to get support and where the support link can be found inside the dashboard. So it looks really cool. And so if you haven't already seen this, when you log in, you're going to see this. And it looks like I noticed down here at the very bottom, don't show this slide again, so you can elect to have these come back up again, or if you know the dashboard in and out, you can go ahead and click through that and get going. So I'm going to click through so we can get to the dashboard here. Yeah, see, how do you help me sell? Here is the sales collateral and business reports, it looks like, that is available. There's marketing helper. So this is all the resources that are available to you. And again, Endless Rise is in this with a partnership. Here's the sales collateral information. It's a partnership, and so the more clients you get, the more work they have to do for you. And so everybody wins, which is why it's such a nice relationship. And so they make these services to benefit you directly and to make it so you're better able to sell versus any competitors that aren't signed on with Super Simple Outsourcing and Endless Rise. And so great stuff, great company to be connected with. All right, here it is, submitting a proposal request. So yeah, it's just going to walk you through the whole thing to get up and running. So super good idea there. from the Endless Rise team. And then let's see what we've got here. Oh, this is getting signed up with the Endless Rise webinar series. They do theirs on Thursdays, and looks like that's still the case, so January 9th. So that's always jumping on with Paul and doing something similar to what we're doing today. So there's definitely resources for you when you have questions on one-on-one webinars and Q&As. Okay, I'm going to bounce through here to get to our eDasher and take a look at the questions while that loads up. Okay, Jean-Luc, let's see. Do you have sales material to help the selling process on a Mac or an iPad? I think your best bet is the sales collateral, and that is going to be inside this dashboard account because that sales collateral is in a PDF format. And so, if I don't have an iPad, but I'm quite sure you could load up a PDF inside of an iPad. I've never done it on an iPad, so I can't say definitively. But you could walk through that iPad and literally, walk through the service explanation with the client if you wanted to. I don't think there's a presentation that's done on SEO services, but again, another interesting idea to put on the list of assets that might be able to be made for you. So let's see, SEO or basic sales presentation. That's an interesting idea with maybe a PowerPoint or something that you could brand and they could provide. So let me talk about some of these ideas with Kevin and Paul and just see. Paul's always very receptive to ideas, and if it's something they can do, oftentimes they'll try and get it done. There we go. So, and here's the new screen. So welcome to your dashboard. Again, they're going to help you walk through. So this is really great for anybody new because I know that from when you're just starting on and you come in the dashboard here, it can seem a bit overwhelming because you've got all the tabs up here and you've got all the information. So I mean, it's so great that there's so much information here for you. But that also left people in kind of a, whoa, where do I go from here type of a mode. So they've made it very clear now for you with step 1, step 2, step 3. So I would just walk right through it to avoid overwhelm. And then real quickly on some of the things we were talking about earlier, the services tab is going to show you all the available services. So here we are. And we were talking about online reputation management earlier with Barry's question. There's the ORM tab. Looks like I'm currently on the SEO and local buzz tab. So if I click over to ORM here, I'm going to get the reputation management services. And I can see that there's those 5 services. I believe that's the levels of service or the number of keywords. So it's really just one standard reputation management service, but all the different keywords. So usually it's going to be maybe one, the business owner's name or something. Maybe there's a couple other out there that they need to, sometimes it's the company name for one keyword, the business owner's name that has a bad rep, another keyword. And then if you are just starting out, you can come over and look at the reseller services. What this is this is actually, they can establish a website for you and they can do some remarketing for you. So that is available. It's a done for you type of a situation. So you can certainly build out your own website free of charge, or you can if you've got more money than time getting started. Some people have that because they have a job. Then oftentimes this is attractive where you can get this built out for you. Okay. Let's check the questions real quick here, and then I think we're going to wind things up. We're about at the hour-and-a-half mark. All right. Oh, Gordon was saying, did you hear that Paul had canceled his webinar series? I wasn't aware of that. I thought that I hadn't heard that. So judging by that walkthrough right there where we saw the 2014 schedule already laid out, I think that they still are doing it, but that would be something brand new. So as far as I know, they're still going to want to do that. Okay. So maybe were you saying, Jean-Luc, to demonstrate a mobile website on, I think Marketing Helper is going to come up. So it'd be kind of odd. You're going to be showing a client, the mobile replicator on a mobile device, and so they just would need to understand that. But I'm quite sure it's a website, so I'm quite sure you accomplish somewhat of the same effect there. Or you can just pull it up, of course, on a mobile device and show them if you're live with the customer. Tara, you're wondering how to access the dashboard. Let's see, I've got the link here. I can just post that right to you. It's also in the main chat panel for everybody. Okay, Barry, let's see. If I log into my eDasher, it looks like the one that was just showing. I believe you're going to see it, even though if you've been around with, for 2 years or 2 days, I believe you're going to see that beginning screen until you click through it and turn it off. So, Barry, if that's what you were saying that and you got that, then yep, definitely it'll be there until you walk through it. Okay, Eric's saying you do have to go, and yeah, I did flag a couple of questions for Paul. Probably what I'm going to do is grab those, and maybe we can get those answered up on the next session. So Paul would be scheduled to come up on the 20th of January, and that one is typically, if you're familiar with our format, a content-based webinar, where Paul is going to actually bring a training to us, whether it's like we talked about on pricing, or which is one we've done in the past, or maybe selling. Technique or maybe technical side of the business. He will do it. That's the primary focus of the one on the 20th, but I'm going to capture some of these questions, see if we can't get to these on the 20th as well. Scott, I am available later today, so let's connect. If you want to send in a support ticket, I'll take a look at that, and I'll also check and reach out to you. Is this eDasher different from the eDasher for Endless Rise? Nope, they're the same thing. So Stefan, they are absolutely the same thing. Brad says, what reports are available? Oh, you got me on that one. I must be honest, Brad, I am a bit weak in what they offer for reports. I can click on it here, but I know there's going to be reports that are relevant to the campaign that you're running. So, if it's an SEO report, I don't think there's going to be any in this demo. Oh, look at this, I guess there is. So it's going to be relevant to, what, like this one here in SEO, they're going to give you a Google Analytics report. Keyword ranking, I think, is going to be probably the most common and most popular one that you're going to get, and it's show you month over month how your client's doing on their campaign for their specified keywords. There's this work report, which I believe is, kind of a tick list on what needs to get done and how that's progressing. So I would look in. I'm not familiar with. Hey, look at this. Click report type. So there's looks like the report types. Again, I will raise my hand and say I apologize. I'm a bit weak on what reporting is available. Oh, Jean-Luc, thank you very much for that comment. I'm happy that this was that this was helpful to you today, and we do aim to make these as beneficial as they can. And so with that, I'm going to close it down. I'm going to ask you if you have any input, whether positive or negative. If you want to maybe just throw that in the chat panel real quick. I'm very, very open to making these all about you guys and all about what's beneficial for you. So if you have comments, whether it be shorten up the monologue or give us more, whatever it may be, honestly, I'm open to it, and I appreciate you guys staying on with us. We actually have most everybody here that started with us. I know a couple people commented they had to run at the top of the hour a little bit ago, and that's understandable. A lot of people try and tune in for the first hour and then maybe catch the replays. So I appreciate each and every one of you who are still here. It looks like it's over 80%, and so that's fantastic. I thank you so much. I thank you everybody for your participation today. Lots of great questions, lots of great input. Thank you for recommendations. The next webinar, very good question to prompt me to remind you, or to remind me to tell everybody, next webinar will be January 20th, very same time. The GoToWebinar invitation is on a it just pushes forward. So it's a subscription invitation, so you will get the reminder coming usually the Sunday before, so Sunday, January 19th, you should get a reminder, as well as on Monday, unless you cancel your subscription to this presentation. So with that said, I will sign off for today. I wish you all the best moving into 2014. I hope it's just a profitable and beneficial year for everybody. I hope everyone is in good health, and I just wish you the best moving forward. Thanks so much, everybody.